Welcome back to the Chattanooga Real Estate Pulse. Today, I want to bring to you how to build wealth. Let's call this step one. A lot of people that you know have built a lot of wealth through real estate. If you go on and just Google right now and you say, what have some of the wealthiest people done to build wealth? And you're going to find at the very top, almost every time, there's going to be the term real estate involved in there. So step one, where do we start? What do we do? I just want to challenge you with owning a home. So if you Google some stats, what you'll find is that the average renter has a net worth of very small, usually around $10,000. I've seen a lot of different stats. If you Google it, it's around $10,000. And just so you understand what net worth is the difference between the assets you have less the debts that you owe. And as a tenant, if you don't own real estate, you probably don't have a lot of appreciating assets. So that makes that number pretty small. Well, if you compare it to the average homeowner, we see that that's 10x. It's over $100,000 of net worth just by owning a home. So I want to challenge you to think to the fact of, let's remove some fears one may have about owning a home. So if you compare from renting to owning, there's a lot of pros. You can paint the walls wherever you want. You can have pets if you want. You can do whatever you want to do to the home. Those are some luxuries that come along with owning a home. The other piece, though, is that every payment you make, a portion of that payment is going to go to the principal balance of which you owe on that home. So if you were to buy, say, a $300,000 house, for example, doesn't really matter the number, I'm just using it as an example, every time you make a payment, a portion of your balance is going to go down. Simultaneously, each year, historically speaking, the value of your home is going to go up. If you're watching this right now, I might even suggest just pause for a second and Google historic home prices over history. And what you're going to see is that number is going to go up and up and up. I find that it's about 5% increase year over year if you were to balance it out over history. That's a significant percentage. If you think about owning a $300,000 house that you buy today, that means 1 year from now, that home is about $315,000. Now, the cool thing about each year that you own that property, it's compounding that equation that you're doing. It's not just an extra 15 every year. It's now 5% of 315. And let's say that number goes to 335, then it's 5% of 335. I found that that number can grow very, very quickly. Now you may say, but Doug, I live in the house. I need a roof over my head. I'm not actually going to have that cash. No, you're not. This is called forced savings. It allows you to have an asset that's going to grow in its worth, because as much as you think you're going to buy your forever home, you probably aren't. We're almost at the 5,000 house mark of homes that we have sold. And so many people have said, this is going to be my forever home. And the majority of those people call us back somewhere within 5 to 7 years and say, hey, Doug, we want to make a move. And for all different reasons, but one of those reasons also is that they have built up this equity, and equity is the difference between what you owe on the house and what it's actually worth. So that number has grown so large that they now have options. So selling real estate isn't bad. The great thing about selling real estate is you can take what you've earned from that and then go purchase the next piece of real estate or make an investment, or I don't recommend it, you could walk away with the cash too. That is an option as well. But building wealth in real estate starts first with just owning your own home. Now, let's say that you have already accomplished that, or you are already on that mission to go out there and buy your first home. The next thing you should think about is how do I buy a second home? Now, this can seem scary. I totally get it. If you've just started owning your first home and you're like, wait a minute, you already want me to buy a second home? Well, just like that $300,000 house that's going to increase just in the first year $15,000, what if you had two homes and they both simultaneously increased 15 grand? That's a $30,000 increase in your net worth just like that. Now you've got to say, all right, but I don't want to be a property manager. Well, guess what? I don't either. Some people want to do it. Some people love to do it. Most people, that's usually what holds them up. They're like, I don't know how to negotiate the rents. I don't understand. I'm not handy. I don't know how to fix the homes up. You can easily hire a property manager, and there's a lot of them out there. I personally don't, our company doesn't do property management, but we have the ability to recommend you to some great property managers that myself and our agents in our company that also have rental property themselves, they also lean on property managers to help create what this term that you've heard maybe before called mailbox money. Every single month you get a check in the mail that says, here is the rents that was collected, less the management fee involved, and you get the rest. Every time we help someone buy their first property, what we want to do is we want to help them make sure that it cash flows, meaning that the rents less the deductions of the cost of managing the property are going to entail. We want to make sure that that covers your payment. And so at the end of the day, you own a property. This is where they say the tenant makes the payment for you. That's really how it happens. It is that simple. Now, you also might say, well, how do I get started? Because I need a down payment, right? So let me rewind just a little bit. The great thing about investing in real estate is as homes grow, as your first home grows in value, you have the ability to tap into that equity using what they call a home equity line of credit. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but I'm just giving the simplest way out there. It's the way I've done it myself. I've leaned on the equity in my home and I've tapped into it and said, okay, let's say over a couple years of owning this home, I now have an extra $50,000 in equity. You could actually borrow the $50,000 from your current home. You will have to make a payment on that $50,000 because it is another loan, but then that will become the down payment for your second home. And so when we are thinking about making sure that the second house cash flows, we also need to consider the cost of the HELOC on your first home. I hope this doesn't sound too complicated, but I just want to challenge you to maybe rewind this and listen to that part again, because at the end of the day, this is where you hear people saying, leverage real estate, leverage other people's money. Well, what we're talking about is leveraging the bank's borrowing power that they're going to give you based on the equity of your home. Another thing to consider, this, first off, this can be duplicated time and time and time again to your comfort level, to your risk level. And you should definitely make sure that you've got a professional that has experience in this, helping guide you along the way to make sure that you are on the path to actually building wealth and not taking on risk. A couple things to consider in purchasing homes. Whether it be your current home or the home that you're going to buy, your first one to live in, or maybe even that next rental property, I'd like to help guide you down the path to stay away from certain things that could just cost you a lot of money. The biggest enemy in real estate is water. So if you're purchasing a home and it's on the side of a hill and the water could get to the house, that generally causes issues. We also want to keep you away from homes that haven't been renovated or they're extremely old, because we know you're likely going to end up replacing a roof, replacing a heat and air unit, having to replace things. Now, you can't get away from never having to replace something, but what we don't want you to do is in your first year have to all of a sudden remodel a lot of things, unless that's your goal of buy a home that needs a lot of work and then get some sweat equity built in right out the gate. There's a lot of different ways that fit a lot of different people, but it all starts with having the right professional to guide you down this path. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight on just where to get started. This video was called Step 1 for a reason. It's just the first step. Reach out to me personally, DM me, shoot me an email at doug@jdouglasproperties, and I'd be more than happy to take it a step further. Let's go to step 2 together one-on-one and help guide you down the path to building wealth in real estate. Thank you for listening to the Chattanooga Real Estate Pulse.